Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for all the support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Today is going to be a bit of a personal episode because a part of the reason I do what I do on this channel is about getting the stories right. And I want to also, like when we get clues of certain things, I want to highlight the clues so that way going forward, we know if we miss something, we know where we missed something. I think that's important, especially when it comes to behaviors of just predatory behaviors in general and catching the problem early instead of catching it too late. This episode is going to be about an incident that occurred with my high school. As you know, R. Kelly has been sentenced to do time for crimes of sex trafficking and just preying on underage, uh, we'll say underage kids. Uh, it's highly disturbing, but I think that this story has to be told because of all the stories we hear. We don't hear enough about the stories of the people who tried to get it right. We don't hear enough about the people who tried to be heroes in these moments. And we have a hero at my school because R. Kelly decided that one morning he was going to show up at St. Martin de Porres Academy on the Chicago South Side and surprise the students. Well, his stay was not long at our school. Uh, he was put out once our dean of students found out he was in the building. What we know today is R. Kelly would go to other schools and he would encourage students to get riled up. He would encourage talent shows. He would encourage auditions and have an attempt to get people back to his studio where, anything could happen. I think this is important to talk about Dean Michael Hughes because Dean Michael Hughes decided that I'm not going to get blinded by the celebrity of R. Kelly. I'm not going to care that the students are excited that he's here. This grown man should not be on the campus. And he put him out along with a couple of his friends. I remember the day vividly. A lot of my classmates remember the day vividly. And I think it's important to document this because we do have so many stories of his victims, but we have a story of a man who stepped in and probably saved a lot of my classmates' lives. So this is kind of why I take the topic seriously because as an adult, we want to be able to protect children. And I think we need to keep our awareness heightened no matter how popular the person is. So that's why I did this. And I did an interview with Dean Hughes and I decided that I was going to share it with you guys. And hopefully you can kind of get some insight, maybe share this with some people at some schools who might need just a little extra awareness when it comes to what your priority is, which is to protect your students at all times. So with that said, I'm going to go into it and I hope you enjoy it. Please do a lot of comments, like, share, subscribe, do all those things to support my channel. And let's get the conversation going because this is definitely a conversation we all need to have. And I appreciate you tuning in. Peace.
You know what, dear? That is hot.
So first thing I guess we'll talk about is kind of some of your time at St. Martin. So just kind of give me a brief synopsis of you getting on at St. Martin and kind of what your goals were. And, we can talk about some of the highlights and some of the challenges you had.
Well, I came to St. Martin de Porres Academy from Chicago Christian High School. I've been bandmaster out there 2 years, almost 3 years. And the late Father Daniel Millette over at St. Margaret of Scotland on 93rd contacted me and he said, they're starting this new school over there, this new academy. And, he asked me to apply for it. They were looking for a band director. And I said, well, yeah, and so I went and interviewed and I got in. I forget the guy who they had, dean of students. There were two before I assumed that position. And basically, my thing was that we had to try and figure out a way to stop the fighting every day. I don't know if you remember that. It seemed like it was a fight a day. And that was one of my first challenges that I wanted to, nip in the bud. Personally, I did not feel that the detentions were worth the paper they were written on. That's me. But we needed a way to try and say to some of your peers that, this behavior is just not acceptable. And we can't allow it to go on here. It's a parochial school. I used to tell some of the parents at parents' nights, their meeting nights, that, a lot of you all have these kids enrolled here. You're not Catholic. You have them here because you want them to be safe. So my biggest thing was, trying to figure out how to keep you all safe. Remember, we had the gang problem. And trying to stay on top of that was another huge challenge. There were some students who I can say now, I can't say their names, I wouldn't say their names, who had some serious problems that I had to deal with. Alcoholism. We had one young lady who we had to get some sort of counseling for. We had to get her mother in and make her aware that her behavior, because she wanted to be liked, I guess, and admired, was just out of the pale. I mean, you cannot be in this school doing some of the things you were doing. I don't know if you remember, but every now and then you see me sticking my head in classroom doors because I was trying to see, was this person where she needed to be? Was he where he needed to be? Without trying to cause any problems. And young man who was working with me doing a lot of leg work, Torrance, would hit me up to certain things that were going on around the building. And, we would try and deal with it. Like I say, my biggest concern for you all was safety. I mean, there were a few times when I drive over to 95th and Park and just stand in the station. Sometimes I would take the train all the way to 95th. I've had a couple of friends who were cops, and they helped us out a couple of times. I don't think you all know it. And that was during the time where I was really concerned about not just the trains, but the buses. Some of the shenanigans going on in the bus.
Definitely. I can definitely recall that because it was girls being assaulted, fights, all these things. It can be a number of things happening on the bus and on the train, you know. And everybody wasn't fortunate to be able to drive back and forth and get to where they go. They had to stop.
Yep. There was another thing, not to cut you off, but there was another thing. One of my best, or one of the things I'm really proud of at that time was the fact that there was a liquor store called The Spot. Okay. And there were several students who would go over there and they were doing what they do. You pay more and they give you whatever bottle you wanted. We got them closed down. It took a while, but we got them closed down. And the thing, my argument to the store owners were, first of all, I don't know where you come from. I don't care, but there are laws against selling alcohol to minors. Not just alcohol, but cigarettes and all this other stuff. And I'm like, there's going to be time for that. This is not the time for it. Okay.
Right.
And I really felt that your parents were not paying all that money for these sorts of shenanigans. I just didn't feel that way. I mean, you could have your fun. Everybody does stuff and sneaks and don't get caught. I mean, I understand that. But when you have students coming into an institution of higher learning and they're not prepared to be educated, we got a problem, okay? And I don't care what the outside substance could be, whether it's alcohol, reefer, it didn't matter to me. It's like, this is not the place for this. So I don't know if that's answering you or not, but...
definitely answers me. I mean, because when we talked before, you were saying that you had the challenges that were outside the school and then the challenges inside the school. And then you brought up a big part of it was the educational part because we were supposed to be getting people prepared to go to institutions of higher learning.
Right.
So you had to deal with what you had to deal with. It seems like I think every day for you was a fight, and there were fights going on that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, I'm kind of laughing because, to be honest with you, there's a whole lot that you all didn't know about. I mean, some of the parents will get irate with me, and I get right back irate with them and say, like, look, who's the most important person here? It's your students,
Right.
I shouldn't be purveyor of doom and gloom because it wasn't all that. There were a lot of fun times over there. There were a lot of times where I could see in a student's face that they got it. Whatever was being taught, they got it. They understood, which is what education should be. Not just handing out books and papers and grading, but do you understand what the subject matter is? If you understand it, then you can conquer it. That's the way I feel. So, and if you needed help, ask for it.
So I'll go on to the next thing. So the one incident that I wanted to talk to you about was the day that R. Kelly came to the school. I think, as I told you before, I think we're looking back on what we know about R. Kelly today and how R. Kelly finally got some accountability for his problems with underage girls and underage boys too, it seems. Now he's starting to see accountability. And what we know today is that he found his way into certain schools around Chicago and nobody kept, put him out. Everybody let him come in and chill and kick it, have talent shows, have auditions, when he was obviously there for nefarious means. So you're one of the few stories that I've heard of him even being, put out. So going back to that day, he was there in the morning and he was playing basketball. So why don't you tell me what you kind of encountered when you found out he was in the school? How did that day go for you?
To be very honest with you, I was upset about it. I'm not going to use the P word.
Right.
First of all, as dean of students, I should have known about his presence. Secondly, I was very leery about him being in the school in the first place. Very leery. Well, a lot of people don't remember or know about this guy. He had went, I want to say, to Kenwood. He was a teacher. He was taught by Dr. Lena McLean, the late Dr.
The music teacher. Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
That boy could not read, okay? I knew that, okay?
Did you know Leonard McLean personally? Because I know you were in music around the city too.
I knew of him. Okay. I was not happy with some of the things that he was doing and some of the material he was putting out, bump and grind and all of that stuff. I'm like, man. We need to have more class than that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just felt personally, I didn't want to know the guy. I felt like he was using people to the point of, all of the sexual mess. I had known about his exploits simply because of when I had my band, Musicians by Birth, and Gil Robinson, the late, great Gilbert Robinson, he had his band, The Outcasts. We were playing all over Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And people would tell you little things. A lot of times you're busy, you trying to, entertain and stuff, but some of these things stuck.
Right.
I knew that he was trying to entrap these young people at the rock and roll McDonald's. Okay. He would do it. He'd come up in there with his crew, I guess, cronies, and try and take the place over and, anything he felt like he could do to win over these young people. I
Right.
felt like it was black exploitation at its worst. Okay. So I knew, and on that day, like I said, Torrance was doing a lot of my leg running, and there were several other teachers, educators there that I pulled aside and said, look, we got to be around this guy or make them aware. Because I went up to some of these flunkies of his and told them, leave these girls alone. Okay. No gifts, no nothing. Leave these girls alone. Okay.
Did you ever find out how he made that decision to come there that day?
It
Or
was it had something to do with you all's student council. Okay. That's what it had to do with. And evidently they went to your principal at the time, Mr. Miles, and she really didn't know. She may have known something about him, but she really didn't know what his reputation was. And so, we got through it. But after that, I went up to her and I told her, I said, we have to be careful about who we bring in here because some of these people are up to no good. And she got it. She didn't get angry at me or anything. And, I remember a couple of the students would walk around and say, oh, Hughes is just jealous. It's like, no, I'm not jealous. I know what this guy is capable of doing. And
right,
lo and
because
behold,
none of the stuff was public at the time, and we didn't
that's
know.
it. That's
Yeah,
it.
none of that stuff was public because I think the first public clue was the marriage certificate of him and Aaliyah, and that wasn't until a year after he showed up at the school.
Right.
So you kind of like knew around people around the music community that knew about him, and you already kind of knew that he had a problem.
I don't think it's fair for anybody. It doesn't matter to me, white, black, Italian, it doesn't matter, to be messing with children.
Right.
Okay. And that is the cardinal sin for me. If you look around out here now at many of the kids and how they're acting, I think, first of all, they weren't allowed to be children. Okay. They got all this junk thrown at them, all these violent video games and all this other stuff. And people, they've grown up quickly and they shouldn't have. Okay. That's just my opinion.
Right.
I think I would tell some of the students that I taught, I would say, listen, you're going to get there. Like the old folks used to say, relax, you'll last longer, you're going to get there. Right. Don't try and be in such of a rush to grow up. Because once you get there, it ain't like being a kid anymore.
No,
you
definitely
are the adult. And what you are taught, as a child, you bring with you when you are an adult.
Right.
And if you don't get it when you're a kid, you're certainly not going to get it as an adult.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So, it's just like I used to tell a lot of the students, I'm like, listen, in high school, if you don't get it you have some sense of self by the time you are graduated from high school, you may not never, ever have it. Now's the time to do the work.
Right. So when you approached him that day, what was that conversation, that interaction like once you saw that a lot of people wasn't in class and they were all over at the gym that day?
First of all, his flunkies tried to get to me. Who are you? And I told him. And Torrance had put out, back during that time, I don't think you all knew it. Maybe I shouldn't say it now. But I used to carry a 357 Magnum, okay? Because I was over there in that park across from the street. We almost had a student get killed over there by gangs. His father was a cop. When Torrance brought his father downstairs, and he was in his full uniform, and went up and got that kid and brought the young man down. And I told him what was about to happen. We had basically set up a sting. And the cops from up on 111, they were waiting. So they got these guys. But they were out to kill this kid, this young man. And his father, when his father got there and we told him everything, and some of the cops from up on 111th Street told him, said, no, Hughes is telling you the truth. His father wasn't mad. Just, I stepped out of the office because there was some furniture moving around. Let me put it like that. Okay. Wow. And Miss Behan, I remember she came down, she was going over to the lunchroom, and she said, Mike, he's killing the kid. I said, he's doing what he needs to do.
Right.
But like I say, some of his flunkies tried to get to me, and I wasn't having it. And Torrance wasn't having it. Behind, she, because she could see, she saw a lot of stuff. And, we had the English teacher, Doug Van Dyke. He saw a lot of stuff, Mr. Van Dyke, and was moving around. What we were doing was making our presence known, okay? So that, you can't say a certain thing to a young lady around me or Torrance or Miss Behind. There were a couple other teachers up in there too that I don't remember. Their faces not coming to me, but we had a group, and I just told them, I said, they're here trying to pick up dates. They're here trying to influence our students, and we cannot have that. We just can't have it.
Did you say he was trying to pass out business cards and?
Yeah.
Call
me anytime. I was getting those cards up and tearing them up, and I was like, and a couple of young ladies got mad at me, and they said, why are you tearing it up? And I'm like, what do you need this for? You don't need him. I said, don't you smell a rat?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Why lie about it?
Yeah, because we know now, because today we know that was the shtick at every school. Show up, surprise the students, get them all riled up, get them all engaged, and then you can make them do what you want. But somebody's got to step in as an adult and say, no, my first job is to protect these kids first. And if you're not supposed to be here, or if you're here with nefarious intentions, you got to go. And he went to several schools and was not told where he needed to go. He was allowed to stay, kick it, hang out, throw talent shows. You hear all kinds of stories. But that day, you're throwing him out, you saved some lives of some people that day.
What I did was I told the flunkies, this is not a nightclub. Okay? That's how I went up to him. I told them, ain't no bump and grind in here. Ain't no, I believe I can fly and all that mess. I'm like, I like that song. It spoke to aspirations of being something. But I knew, and because this is for publication, I'm just going to say, I knew he wasn't blank. Okay?
Right.
And I'm like, when I talked to Gil up at St. Margaret of Scotland about it. He said, well, you did the right thing, because if you had done nothing and these girls had been attacked or lured into prostitution or whatever, how would you forgive yourself? And I said, I wouldn't forgive myself, because it was my responsibility to try and make people aware. Like, look, you don't come up here doing this. You know, we might have had all kinds of reputations on the street, but no, the thing was to try and make sure everyone was safe. Okay.
Yeah.
As safe as you could be. I didn't like having to run around, you know, people stealing from each other. I'm like, what y'all doing? You know, stop this.
Right.
You know, or, you know, all the little silly things. I'm like, because it took up time. Yeah. Okay. And it burned energy that could have been used elsewhere. But for that creep, no, yeah. We ain't having.
And let me ask you this, because with you being in music and being familiar around the city and things, like I told you, I've been kind of following a lot of information about entertainment and famous people and how they use their fame and their influence. Could you talk about what you see from your perspective, where famous people feel like they can do things that everyday common women can't do?
A lot of it is from, and I hate to keep saying the word flunkies, but a lot of it is from these flunkies making these people think, these so-called artists, that they are above the fray, that they can do anything. And because they got money, they have some money, they can float around. You know, they can do things that no one in their right mind would actually be thinking of doing with a child, okay? Or someone who's 17 or 18. Just because you're that age don't mean, and you're a young lady, does not mean you've grown up.
Right.
You know, your mind hasn't developed to its fullest potential.
Correct.
So that's how I had seen a lot of it start. You know, if the people around you are not being honest, they're not being truthful, they're not being, you know, sometimes you have to ask somebody to come up and say, you know, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Yeah. You know, or do that, say that, and then leave. But then what the almighty dollar, you know, has a lot to do with it too. And people are figuring, well, if I pay them enough, they're not going to rat me out, or I can get away with this a little longer. Mm-hmm. You know, look at all this mess going on with Sean Combs. He's going down, and I don't think he even has the common sense to know it.
Right. And you just pointed out something that's very important: the paying for silence. That's it. That's a common theme amongst all. Because when we look at R. Kelly, we look at Michael Jackson, Sean Combs. There's all these underlying paying for silence moments, right? And they feel like the more they pay for it, they feel like
they're entitled
to get away with it. And as long as their enablers or their flunkies are around them to keep encouraging them to do it, they're gonna keep doing it, not realizing that they're gonna be the ones to take the fall where everybody else gets away.
Well, the thing about it, if you look at the past as opposed to the present,
yeah,
you never saw the artists of the past getting into this kind of crap because they knew it was wrong. Okay? Now, you had some musicians out here who were ladies' men, and they knew it, but they were dealing with adults. Okay? That's a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, and consequently, I guess you could say ladies were doing some of the same stuff. I mean, exploitation is exploitation, no matter how you put it, you know, and it could be male or female. Yeah. But from what I was saying, you know, these guys, and then there was one other thing. Some of these flunkies would tell you that these people thought they were God.
Yeah. There's another common denominator. There's a God complex with a lot of these. these people.
And, and then, somebody, well, I won a Grammy, I won a Emmy, I did all. Those are just tokens of what you've done.
Right.
It used to bother me that these people, first of all, where are your parents at? Okay. Mm-hmm. The parents of these children, where are the parents? When I was a child, if we brought something into the house and it didn't come from my mother or my father, get that out of here. Where did you get this from?
Right.
What did you do? Did you steal it? And if I said steal, boy, my father would lay into me like white on rice. Okay. So, I mean, the parents they have some responsibility too, because they have to see what's going on.
Yeah.
In your own house with your children.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can say when we were in school, we had problems with older guys and older people sneaking there trying to date a lot of the girls, whatnot. Yep. But see, with him, it became that celebrity element that he was just bold enough to just walk onto the campus and do whatever at every school he went to. You know what I'm saying? And his celebrity provided him a shield, gave him a protective shield along with his flunkies to say, like, oh, you worthy to do this. You don't have to abide by the law. You can just come up in here and start sweet talking girls and sweet talking students and getting people back to the studio, which once you get to the studio, that you out of realm of any protection.
All bets are off.
All bets are off. And just because today we say it's hundreds of girls that fell by the side with him.
I agree with you, and the biggest, one of the biggest things, it's a pet peeve of mine, but I used to see some of these jokers running around saying, "Do you know who I am?" Okay, that's a good tagline, and I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. So what? Right. And going about your business and get out of my face and all this other stuff. I mean, again, that ties into this so-called God complex. Do
right.
You know who I am?
Right.
Who the hell are you? We don't care about you. Oh, we're supposed to kneel in front of you or something? No.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed about that whole situation. The immediate thing you did was, if protecting the kids, you took the celebrity out of it. And once you take the celebrity out of it, you like, there's no way this grown man should be up here, interacting with these kids in this way, especially with the kind of content he does,
My thing, again, I'll say it to the day that I die. Now, I've taught in a lot of schools.
Yeah.
Every now and then, there would be an instructor, educator, teacher, who was getting too close to kids. We had one at St. Martin, okay? And he was an English teacher. And we got rid of him quick. When somebody else came up to me and said, "Mike, I need you to check this out," I checked it out. I said, there is no way. And the young lady was in the band. And I talked to her. She was guarded, which I understood. I pulled this teacher out. We walked up on 111th Street, past the police station. And I told him, I said, "You're about to go to jail, okay? You're going to ruin your reputation." At that point, there was nothing that we knew had happened, transpired, but I was not comfortable with it. I told the next step was we had to call the Division of Children and Family Services and have them to do an investigation. Then I called the Archdiocese of Chicago, the education end of it, and said, we have a problem here that needs to be dealt with. They got into it. And next thing you know, he was gone. Okay. So, I mean, and please don't misunderstand me. I wasn't like, I'm out to get you. That was not my intent, but I could see something was wrong. Why is this teacher driving this girl home, this young lady home, every day, every other day, waiting on her? That's the first tip. I'm like, something's wrong here, you know? And like I said, she was guarded. She didn't want to give up anything. So I left it to the professionals doing their investigation.
Right.
I have, to me, if you're an educator and you allow yourself to be co-opted by anyone's child, personally, I take you out and hang you, okay?
Right.
Because the trauma that you are doing to anybody else's child, they should not have to live with that. They should be children,
Yes.
okay? Luckily in my career, I didn't have many of those. But the one at St. Martin that really got to me, because I said, why is this man? I just asked myself, why is this man taking this child home or taking her wherever?
Right.
See, that's what got to me.
Right.
You
Right.
know, so we dealt with it, you know. And in that particular case with this teacher, you'll know who I'm talking about if you think about it. He's a white guy. And
Yeah. Let me put it. I think he popped up on my Facebook feed one day, and I was like, okay.
he's kind of big and he was goofy looking. I hate to say it like that, but and he wore glasses.
The description is the description.
Okay, and I'm like, no, we can't have this. And to be honest with you, I was hoping I was wrong.
Yeah.
But it just didn't add up correctly to me. You know, when 2 and 2 ends up being 6, something wrong.
Right. Right.
You know, and again, my feeling with all of you all was, if I don't do something, and I know better, if I don't do something, who is?
Right.
You know, and that's not to say, oh, me, it's me. No, it's like, what is our job? Our job is to educate our children so that when they leave here, go to college, military, whatever they're going into, they can be successful.
Right.
That's the name of the game. All of that other BS is BS.
Right.
To me, it's like giving these kids the best education we can. You know, and I kind of got off the track in as far as these so-called artists.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, because the ultimate theme of all this is, you know, that's part of your plan. You have to. Your goal is to make sure we get educated, and there's a sense of protection that you have to provide us when we're in your care, right? And
of course,
that's the theme of it. Because if you're not protecting the kids, there's today as adults now, we didn't see. A lot of us probably didn't see it then because it was so normalized that, you know, people did what they did around us. But now looking at it now, it's kind of like, man, a lot of that stuff was dangerous. Some of us were very lucky to have people protecting us because, like I said, going to other schools, people were allowed to come in there and not relax and hang out. You know, they wasn't held to the fire like, you shouldn't be here. You know, you know, and that's what I'm saying. That was my whole point of this, like, to be thankful that you did and you had the sensibility to be like, you know, I'm gonna do what I can to protect these kids. Can I stop everything? No, but I'm gonna stop what I can.
When I was, you know, I'm an old man now, but I was younger, and I felt like I could, you know, handle until I got sick when they took the tumors out my chest. And actually, my priest, Father Millette, the late Father Millette, told me when I got out the hospital, you should retire because the stress levels were too hard. You know, they were just difficult.
Right.
And I said, no, I think I can do it. He said, but he didn't beg me, but he said, listen, watch your back, watch yourself, and watch your health. And, you know, running around playing, because a lot of times my band or either Gil's band, we'd be doing shows, we'd be doing Broadway musicals, plays, all of this stuff. We were running all over the place, so I really wasn't watching my health.
Right.
And then the stress level sometimes, though, and I have to be honest with you, Lazarick, sometimes I would go down in that little dingy office and just laugh. Because some of the stuff, I felt like this, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. Okay? And y'all don't want to see me crying. Okay? But I think in the end run of everything, we did. All I can say is, I think we tried to do the best that we could do. That's all I can say. We didn't have any money. We didn't have a lot of, that building was falling down.
Yes.
Then on top of it, we had these educators from 3 different schools, Willowbroad, Mendel, and I forget the other one. And they were fighting each other.
Right.
That's why a lot of that mess went on, that little silly stuff, because, how you going to stand in front of a class of 30 students and not communicate with them or treat them as young adults? And just talk to them. That used to piss me off. Excuse that, but that burned me up no end. I'm like, why are you all afraid of the students that you are teaching? And then a couple of them would try and say, oh, you're making this a white versus black thing. I said, no, you're not communicating with them because they're telling us that. Okay? Yeah. And then they get bored and they start doing all this, like I say, this silly stuff, and you all are getting frustrated because you're saying, I can't teach like this. Well, you have no classroom management skills.
Right.
If you don't have the skills and you're not willing to learn or be taught, how can you expect to be successful?
How can you expect to be successful? Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. So we're gonna say, did you want to say anything to the students? Because they're probably gonna watch this.
The only thing I would say to all of the classes is, I was not a saint. I tried to look out for you all. I appreciate being around you all because whether you know it or not, I'm still here because of you. You kept me young. Okay, now I'm you can see the gray and I'm old and all of that now, but being there helped me to say, these kids can do this. And by and large, from the ones that I'm hearing from you guys and young ladies, y'all doing it. So that is a success in and of itself, and it needs to be encouraged. Last thing I'll say to you is I'm damn proud of all of you. Okay? I really am. Go ahead on with your lives and do. Okay?
Indeed. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the time. I appreciate this. It's so awesome.
Hey, all I got is time now.
Yeah.
But if something comes up that way again soon, call me. Shout out.
I wasn't sure because we got class. We planning class of '95 next year. So I'll be spearheading that one. So we already got it. We start building the team on Saturday, and we'll see how it goes. But you'll definitely get an invite to that one. You count on it.
Okay.
Lastly,
God bless you all. Okay, whatever your higher power is.
Yeah.
Bless you all. Be safe out here. And go ahead and do it. Y'all can do it. Y'all can do anything you want to do. So get out there and do
it. Indeed. All right. I appreciate it, Dean Hughes. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for the time. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.